Hi and welcome back to the channel. It's been quite a while since I've last uploaded a video on any of my cars, in particular the Range Rover Sport. And today we're going to be doing an oil change using a genuine Land Rover oil filter and making use of one of these suction devices to suck all the old oil out of the engine. It's the first time I've used one of these. I've always done the traditional way of getting under the car, undoing the sump, draining the oil and refilling it in the old-fashioned way. So it'll be an interesting exercise. It's quite simple to do really. So I've got to warm the engine up first because it's still cold. But before we get into that, I'll just show you in the engine bay where you actually connect the hose to suck the oil out and where the oil filter is. You can of course remove the oil the old-fashioned way by undoing the sump plug, but the position of the sump plug is located in such a way that when you remove the sump plug, the oil that comes out hits a cross member and the oil just goes everywhere. So to avoid any swearing and the job being a pain, let's do it the simple way. So to gain access to the point where you suck the fuel out, oil out rather, and where you get access to the oil filter, first of all we have to remove the engine cover. So that's just a matter of removing the oil filler cap and just releasing this cover, which is fairly easy. And so I'll just put this fuel filler cap on for the time being. So this is where you suck the oil out and you just twist and release, and then you attach your suction hose here and drain all the oil out. So I'll put that back on for a second. And here is where you get access to the oil filter. So first of all we'll warm the engine up and then we'll get into doing the job. Right, before we go ahead and remove the oil, now the engine's up to temperature, I just thought I'd mention a little bit more about this suction device. It's a simple thing, but there are loads of these on the market and it's a fairly generic type. It uses a piston here to cause a vacuum, and you attach this, as I've said before, onto the top of the oil removal pipe, and it just sucks all the oil out. It apparently takes a fair old while actually, but we'll see. There are 3 different types of hose that came with this particular model, but I found I had to purchase some 6mm or 1/4 inch fuel stroke oil rubber hose here to attach to this pipe here, and these tend to be a little bit short, so the extra length on here will make life a little bit more easy when you come to suck the oil out. I did mention that I bought a Land Rover oil filter, but you can get others. If I got a choice, I always use the manufacturers or man filters, which are recommended by quite a few car manufacturers. Also we'll need a 32mm socket to remove the oil filter. So I think we're just about ready, so let's change the oil. Okay, the first thing we'll do is actually remove the oil filter, because once we remove that, some of the oil will drain down into the sump, so we get all of the oil out in one shot. So There we go. And so the oil filter just clips in. And out it comes with oil going everywhere. That was a little bit stubborn. Okay, I'll just get rid of this and then we'll come back and empty the oil. Okay, now we'll go ahead and connect up the suction pipe. That's a nice snug fit on there. So the next stage, with everything connected up, making sure everything's connected nice and tightly, is to introduce a vacuum. And here comes the oil. As I say, I'm not sure how long this is going to take, but we shall see. I think rather than you being bored watching the oil pour being sucked out, sorry, I'll come back in a few minutes and I'll tell you how long it's taken. A 5-minute update, and it appears we're about halfway there. Okay, we're now about 12-13 minutes in and I think we're almost there. I reckon there's about 4 litres, so probably half a litre to go. I'll come back soon. Okay, so we're now about 18, maybe 19 minutes in, and I think all the oil is out. You can just hear bubbles coming through now. I'll give it another few minutes and then we'll go ahead and fit the new oil filter. Yeah, that's pretty much done. It's not stuck in a vacuum anymore. Okay, before we go ahead and fit the oil filter in place, we need to remove the O-ring here, and we've got a replacement part which we need to put on. So these little picks I found are invaluable, and there we go. Old one removed. And always coat the new ring with oil. Make sure that's in place. Then the new filter, they're not ended, so just slot that in, click it into place. That's ready to fit back onto the car. Okay, so now we can fit the new filter, and it's just the reverse of the removal procedure. I usually like to put some oil in to prime this filter. There seems to be a little bit left in there, and there's not much gap between the bottom of the thread, so I think we'll leave it as is. I might be doing wrong, but it seems to have sufficient oil in there, so if we get that in, oops, a tight fit in here, that's it. That's started. And just snip it up. That should do. Now we can go ahead and remove the suction pipe. Use a bit of tissue just in case we get a spillage. Nope. Okay, the final job now is to refill with oil. I did say earlier on that the capacity for a service fill is 4.5 litres. It's actually 5.5. So we'll start there. I'm going to leave this cap off for the moment, put that on last. So undo the oil cap rather. And we're using Castrol Edge 5W30. Now, I know a lot of people like to do this by hand, but my hands aren't that steady for one reason or another. So I like to use a ton dish, and I've had this copper one for ages. And it was my father's before I had it, so let's go ahead and top up. That's all we've got out of that one. So that's 4 litres gone in so far. And luckily, as with most canisters of oil, there are useful markings on the side. So we now need to add another 1.5 litres. In fact, what I'll do is I'll add 1.25 litres, and then we'll see what we've got. We'll start the engine, let it run for a few minutes, turn it off, give it 10 minutes to settle, and then we'll check the oil. As I say, unfortunately on these cars you don't have a dipstick, which would make life a lot easier than doing it using a sensor, but that's how these cars are. So let's have another 1.25 litres. Right, I think I'll leave it at that because I'd rather underfill slightly than overfill. Put the oil cap back on. So now, as I said, we'll start the engine, let it run round for a few minutes and then check the oil. Okay, it's actually been about 15-20 minutes or so since we turned the engine off. So now we're going to see if the oil level is sufficient. So to do that, we need to access the service mode. And to do that, we press the start-stop button without putting our foot on the brake to start the car. And then we need to, focus. Then we need to press the OK, get rid of the warning signs, it's just because the bonnet's open. So we press the OK button and then we get the menu. So then we scroll down using the arrows on the, just below, above, to the left and right of the OK button. Then we press it again. So we scroll down to the service menu, press the OK button again, and that will give us two options, the VIN display and the oil level display. And obviously it's the oil level we want. Press OK, and there we go. We're just on halfway, which is where I like it. So I may just top up the oil level a little bit, just a few hundred mil. So the actual volume between minimum and maximum is 1.5 litres. So we've got what, 0.75 litres before we get to max. So I'll just add a couple of 100 mil and then we'll call that a day. We will come back and check the oil level. You don't necessarily need to start the engine again, and in fact the owner's manual advises you to leave it in this mode while you actually add the oil. So what I'll do is I'll go and add a bit more oil and see what level we get to. Okay, I've just put a bit more oil in, so let's have a look at what the level is now. Oil level, and there we go, just above 1.5, so I think I'm going to be happy with that. So just for completeness, I know I don't really need to show you this, but just to replace the cover, just remove the oil filler cap, and there are little pins here, or plastic pegs, 1, 2, 3, 4, which we need to locate these on to hold the engine cover in place, and it's a fairly simple way of doing things. Where are we going? Yeah. And the actual oil filler pipe gives you some measure of where you need to locate the cover. So just tighten that up. I've checked around the oil filter for leaks and there's none there, so that's job done. So the question is, would I recommend doing your oil change yourself rather than getting a garage to do it? Simple answer is yes, I would. For a car of this age, I mean, this is 12 years old now, I certainly wouldn't send this to a garage just to have the oil changed. Certainly for basic servicing like the oil, the pollen filter, the air filter, and a few other odds and sods, I'd recommend doing them yourself. And as you can see, it's a very simple task to complete yourself. You haven't got to raise the car up, you haven't got to take the under tray off, you haven't got to mess about with draining the sump by undoing the sump nut, or sump plug rather. And it's a less messy method of doing things. The only thing I don't like, and I've said this countless times before on other videos, and certainly this video several times now, I don't like to trust oil level sensor. It's just personal, because sensors can go wrong, and I've had 4 sensors go wrong on this car so far, maybe 5 actually. So if the oil sensor goes, then I don't know how much or how easy it is to replace that particular sensor. So anyway, the long and the short of it is, yes, do the engine change yourself if you have a car of this sort of age. Obviously a newer car, you'd be better off having the servicing done and having the stamp in the book. I've got stamps in the book on this car up to about 89,000 miles, and it's done 113.5 as of now. So yes, I'm rambling now. So to sum up, that is how you change your oil on a Range Rover Sport L320 3 litre TDV6. As I say, it's not the same on a V8 because you've got the dipstick there, fortunately. But you can use the same method to suck the oil out through the dipstick hole. Anyway, thanks for watching. There will be more coming soon. I haven't been posting videos recently because of other priorities, but that is now changing. As you can see in the background on some of the video, I've got the Lotus that I'm currently restoring, and there will be another car coming very soon, probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So if you're interested in seeing what that's going to be, and I'm not going to give any hints at the moment, but it's certainly going to be older than this, stay tuned. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. There will be more to come, particularly on servicing this car and doing other odd jobs on it, which are quite a few, although it's running perfectly fine, and just little niggly things. So yeah, I'm waffling again. So yeah, please like, subscribe, come back for more soon. Bye. Whoops. Ta-ta.